Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and welcome everyone to the series of online webinars, specially brought to you by Faculty of Engineering, University Technology Malaysia, UTM. I'm Jay Suman from the School of Biomedical Engineering and Health Sciences, Faculty of Engineering, UTM. So today I will be your host, and today a new series of professional talk program called Leaders of Enterprise will be commenced. And this forum program is to strengthen ties between academia and industry for the community and for the nation. So before we proceed further, please support us by clicking on the like button in our page and at this video as well. So yeah, feel free to share and get your friends to come and join us. This talk is going to be very casual, and you have this what is called this precious time. Okay, you have this time with a very distinguished speaker we're going to have just in a moment later. So yes, please go ahead and click a like button and share. And yes, we are honored to have our distinguished speaker, engineer Mr. Ammar Rashid. Yeah, the managing director of Ammar Environmental Berhad, an ISO 9001 company. Yeah, so you don't want to miss out this session. So without further ado, let's invite our speaker, Mr. Ammar, into the stage. Please welcome Mr. Ammar.
Assalamualaikum and hi, Dr. J. How are you?
Waalaikumsalam, Mr. Ammar. How are you? Alhamdulillah. Yeah. First of all, Mr. Ammar, congratulations for your newborn baby.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you so much. It has been how to say, a journey coming back and haunting me again after a few years. So I had my two boys previously, and after 11 years, Alhamdulillah, we got our latest baby girl. So just an addition to the family, Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. So you got three now. Alhamdulillah. Yeah. So yeah, Mr. Ammar, so being a father, being a leader, being an entrepreneur, businessman, and being the managing director of such a huge company in Malaysia, yeah, this is going to be something we are so looking forward to listen your thoughts and your opinion. So why not you tell us more about Ammar Environmental Berhad?
Okay, all right. So first of all, I would like to take this opportunity, Dr. J. Thank you so much for the introduction and also the invitation to be here with all of you today. And I hope to give, my very best sharing with all of you. In case that I might miss some points and some points that you guys might want. I believe that there's a Q&A later on, right, Doctor? All right, okay. So if you guys have any questions, just drop us a question. So maybe we could learn from each other in this process. Okay. All right. So a little bit about our company. Our company is Ammar Environmental Berhad. So the word itself, environment, already says it all. Okay. So it's basically a firm that deals with environment. Okay. So we deal with our clients in giving them a peace of mind in terms of environmental compliances and also giving them advice on how to protect the environment better. Okay, so our company has been established for coming into nearly 20 years now. Okay, we are very fortunate to sustain that long in the scenery and in the market, and we have built I would say a good reputation and good delivery per se in this country, especially when it comes to dealing with waste management and waste to energy plants. Okay, so this is where our good niche is in the market in Malaysia and also abroad. So not to forget, we have a few projects abroad as well, and all entails to environmental protection and preservation in this sense. So additionally, we are, again, like you mentioned, ISO 9001 company. We want to be the best in the market. For sure, we have to be representing ourselves in a very good systematic manner, and that's why we are accredited in ISO. And additionally, we have our own laboratory in terms of the chemical testing. So we do monitoring, we do our own laboratory testing at the same time, and we give consultation in terms of getting our clients approvals, especially if you guys commonly have heard EIAs, environmental impact assessment, environmental monitoring, environmental management plans, and so forth. So this is our bread and butter and what we do on a day-to-day basis. Okay, and I would say that we are very proud to serve a lot of companies, right from private-owned companies to GLC companies and multinational companies. So in this sense, that's why I think before we start our talk, I developed this sense of experiences dealing with all these companies and dealing all with various types of people around me. And that's why I think experience creates good leadership skill. Okay, this is what I think is it's the most important thing that everyone needs to understand, because as you go along your life, you would meet very interesting people, very renowned people, very good people in a way. Like Dr. J, I learned a lot from you as well. So in this kind of aspect, we try to take up the best recipe, I would say, right? So if you want to be a good at what you do, you have to take all these good traits of other people in order for you to mimic and presume and project yourself to be best at it, right? So that's how I think we should all do it. So again, just to summarize our company, we again what call it establishes ourselves in terms of helping out our clients to make sure that they comply with their environmental requirements. Okay, not towards just that. Okay, we do not think that our mission is just that. We want to make sure that our clients understand that this is a need for them. And alhamdulillah, so far we have dealt with very, very good, positive thinking clients that, is not just for the fact of the law, but also for the fact of what they need to do in order for them to protect the environment for our future generations. So alhamdulillah, that's a little bit about our company, Doctor.
Alhamdulillah, that is really amazing, Mr. Ammar. Because for your information, ladies and gentlemen, I've been knowing Mr. Ammar for quite a while already. I've been seeing his growth from, from this stage and to this stage, above the screen. You can see that. Yeah.
That's right.
Alhamdulillah. And yes, and also today we have actually prepared a very special topic for all of us, you see. So Mr. Ammar is going to share with us his opinions and his thoughts on the topic of why engineers must have good leadership skills. So I would like to remind, dear ladies and gentlemen, our viewers, if you have any questions or constructive comments, please feel free to comment at the comment section in the Facebook you are watching right now. So time is gold and time is life. So without further ado, let's invite Mr. Ammar to deliver his speech. Okay, the stage is yours.
Okay, thanks so much, Doctor. Thank you, thank you. All right, so first of all, again, I would like to thank the Faculty of Engineering, UTM. As everybody knows, maybe some of you have known this, but I am from UTM, a proud alumni UTM, and back in 2005, and that's where I met Dr. J. And unfortunate that we have met each other today in this kind of session. So alhamdulillah, I mean, once I believe that once you are with good people, you tend to be with them in many other occasions as well, right? Okay, so to give you the insights before I start my talk, I think my talk would come about to two different segments. One is for the academicians, where I would propose some ideas on what we can do in order to nurture, especially the young of our generation, which would be future engineers. Okay. That is because I'm talking to the Faculty of Engineering. Well, in fact, the second one, which is for the students, I want them to understand that this talk is not merely for engineering students only. Okay, it is merely for everyone, because I believe that leadership is the one of the utmost important skill that you need to have in order for you to face life successfully. And why I say that, because I've been through many occasions, and I feel that these traits is a must. That's why in the title I strongly selected the word must have. So it's not can have, shall have, it must have for all of you guys out there. So for you guys out there who is not an engineering based student, don't feel shy to listen to this talk. I hope that you could listen up until the end of this talk so that you could gain some information, and hopefully that through the comments also I would learn from you guys as well. Okay, so again, this session I would like to share with you my own personal experiences. I would share with you some stories as well along the way, because I believe that stories make up some sense in terms of the delivery of what I'm going to do today. Okay, additionally, just to highlight to everyone, I don't have any slides. Okay, this is not a classroom time. I'm with Dr. J. We are having a good time. I mean, speaking out together, and hopefully to deliver our best in terms of sharing, because I do believe that everyone is a catalyst for somebody else. Okay, so in the event that you are, you have to ask yourself, why are you born on this earth? Okay, have you asked yourself that, Doctor?
Oh, okay. That's a very philosophical question. Yeah. Yeah.
You did not expect that, right? You did not expect that question. So have you ever thought, Doctor, that why were you born on this earth, right? So I was thinking that, for me personally, I had the thought that, why are we here? All right. So each and every one of us is unique in a way, right? So we have our own interests, our own passion, our own careers. So at the end of the day, I can summarize that we have how to say, the advantage of being a catalyst or a source of motivation and sharing of ideas to somebody else that could make them a lot more successful and better, right? So in this case, what we are planning to do is that, the concept of sharing is to ensure that you guys have the kind of idea and have a thought through of what I'm going to talk about today, in order for you to think, wow, I mean, maybe this is the kind of thing that I should think about, back in, a few years back, which I did regret to know. All right. So although I've learned so many things in terms of leadership from my parents, from the people that I work with, but the fact is that I should have started it earlier. All right. And this is the form of, what do you call it, platform that I would say as a good platform for you to note. Okay, although you have many videos out there, but this kind of platform would be an addition to help you out in looking at ways in for you to excel yourself in improving your leadership skill as well. Okay, so again, this is based on my personal experience, which I really hope to share. All right, okay, so let's start, shall we? Okay, so first of all, to be a good leader, all right, you have to understand first why you need to be a leader, especially for you engineers. Okay, why engineers? Okay, if let's say, if I could put an example for you guys out there, if you are comparing out, let's say we compare ourselves, because I'm a civil engineering student previously. So if let's say, for example, I'm an engineer and we compare ourselves with a doctor, for example. For doctors, they treat people, let's say in the operation theater, for example, they have one or two patients, okay, at one time when they want to do their work. And the cause of that, they are responsible to a few lives, okay, in that particular sense, okay. But for our case, for engineers in this case, we are working with structures, we are working with, machines, we are working with something that's far more bigger than that. Let's say if I put myself in a position of a civil engineer and I design a building in this case, and that building can occupy 200 people, and at one point, no, within a snap, let's say the building collapsed. Okay, we don't want that, we don't want to pray for that, but let's say the building collapsed. What happens? 200, maybe 300 or more people would die, right? So the risk and responsibility of that is to whom? Is to the engineers and the people who work within the project, right? So this is where leadership really kicks in. You don't want to put, your responsibility at bay where it would affect other people's lives. So this is the most important thing that you need to think about. And as an engineer, when you study engineering, you don't just study, the effect of design and so forth. You have to understand fully what you are really into. Okay, so this is coming to my next point later. All right, so to be a good leader, once you want to be a good leader, you have to understand your vision. All right, so in order for you to manage your vision well, okay, because you have to understand, when you deal engineers or any other profession, you have to deal with people, right? And when dealing with people, different kind of people have their kind of uniqueness, right? Okay, so in this case, when you deal with people, you have to have the sort of ways for you to manage them, all right, in any kind of situation and any kind of projects in this case. So with that having said, you have to set a vision for them when you lead them. That's how you become a good leader. Okay, so let me make my point and emphasize it straight. If I could put as an example, you have a ship, and that ship is going, let's say, for example, from Malacca to, let's say, Batam, for example, right? So in this case, you are the commander of your ship, all right? You want to go to Batam in this case, and you have to command your ship to go to Batam, and everybody's rowing that ship to go to Batam in this case. But if you do not have a vision, you don't have an end goal, you don't know where you're going, how can the people, that you lead could know where you're going in the first place, right? So they'll be at loss. You don't know your direction. You don't know where you're going, all right? So the one thing that I've learned during my lifetime of experience as an engineer, as an entrepreneur, and as a father, you really need to guide your people, okay, by telling them the sense of where they're going, all right? One thing clear that you need to tell them is not just for the fact of the project that you are doing. Let's say, for example, you're a consultant like me, and I am conducting a project for a client, and we get paid for that. We do not want to, I mean, me personally, I don't want to tell my staff or my team that, we want to do it for money. All right, because it's never that. It's never that. Money is a precursor of your service, yes, but the most important thing that you need to understand and put a vision in the heads of your team right now is the fact that you need to command them the end result. what exactly that they're going to get, what exactly that's there for them to feel proud of. Okay, let's say for example, for me personally, I talk to my team day in and day out regarding about this vision with them, because I keep reminding them of this. And so far I've seen the way that they react, they can understand. And that's where the word why comes in. Okay, so the niyat. Okay, we as a Muslim, right, before we pray, for example, we recite the niyat, okay, of our prayers. All right, whether what time is it that we're going to pray, sorry, the kind of prayer that we're going to pray, how many rakat, and to whom we're going to pray, of course, to the Almighty Allah, right? So this is the way that we have to do things. We have to set the vision very straight, very clear, so that our team members understand, okay, this is where we're going, this is where we're heading, and this is our vision, and this is what keeps us moving. And in our case, if I could share with you my personal encounter with my team on this, we look at project to project basis as something that is rewarding to us, because once we help our client to set up a project, let's say for example a waste management site that manages waste efficiently and in a proper manner, then you would be able to create jobs. Although we are not creating jobs for them, but because of our contribution, our small contribution towards that project, we are able to enhance or basically give the mandate to the client to build up the project, all right, or materialize the project and create jobs for people, right? And most of the time it'll be a minimum 10, and maximum we can go is 100 and 150 packs. Or you imagine 150 workers at one particular site or project that we have encounter or help our clients to build up. And this is very big, because you imagine we can help our clients to put food and a good living for other people to come. And you imagine if, let's say, that person that we help in a way, okay, indirectly, gets a job and gets a living with their families, and imagine their children's happiness, their generations to come. These are all as a precursor from what we did initially by helping out the clients. So you guys understand what I mean in this case? So it's all about the understanding of the main objective. The second one that I've always tell my team in this case is that the niyat that we have to come out with is always about not just for the business point of perspective, but also on the fact that we are saving the environment. How good can that go? All right, so is making I would say two birds in one stone. You conduct your service, you get paid for it, you feel proud of it, and at the same time you make a good deed out of it. All right, so a good combination per se. You're preparing yourself right now, and you have to prepare yourself in the afterlife. So both of these elements are jived in together perfectly, especially in our line of work, right? So in this case, you have to put forth in your team, all right, when you lead people, you have to tell them exactly why they need to do what they need to do. Okay, because at the end of the day, in any kind of work, even as a lecturer, I do believe so. What kind of work that you are in, at one particular point you will get burned out, right? You will get stressed out, because life is all about problems, right? So you have to manage your problems well. And in this case, once you have a reason, a good, perfect reason for you to move on consistently, getting through whatever that you need to do, then you will be, having the kind of motivation day in and day out to perform your work well, by understanding that I need to do this because, let's say in my case, I protect the environment and I help the client to create jobs for other people to to be happy with their family and their life. Okay, so this is the kind of notion that I want to put forth to you guys. Have the kind of say, the kind of vision that would go beyond, beyond whatever that you are doing. Okay, let's say environmentalist, you're not just protecting the environment, you have to go beyond that, of what you are doing in this case. Okay, all right, so let's say for lecturers, for example, you are not just giving the technical know-how, but you are giving the kind of information to people to make sure that, or students in this case, to make sure that they can make a good living later on. They can copy the traits of what you show them, which I would touch point in a later stage of this talk. Yeah, okay. So that's number one. Vision must be made clear to your team. Okay, in order for you to be a good leader, vision must be clear. All right. So number two, a very important one, and I always talk about this, more often towards the youngsters out there, because I do believe that this kind of information was not, furnished for me back in those days. Although, again, I've learned so many things from my parents, but the detailing out of many of this information are not there during my time, which I would like to emphasize this, especially for you youngsters out there. please make sure that you understand this point very, very carefully, which is what? Which is the fact of communication. How can you be a good leader? Okay, if you cannot put up your ideas and instruct other people, influencing other people, and telling people what to do, if you cannot communicate well, it makes good sense, right? In this case, all right. So communication is the utmost key, right, for successful leaders, for them to develop other people. All right. So this is where you need to learn the trick of the trade on how you can do that. So let me just share with you some points that I always share with the youngsters out there. So number one, in order for you to develop a good communication skill, you have to practice, all right, how to communicate well and better. You have many videos out there, you have many, mentors out there, people, who preach about communication. So you cannot miss that chance of knowing how you could do that. Because in this era, I do believe that, unlike my time, during that time, internet was not used like this, and there was no YouTube at that time as well. So you would have the advantage of looking at many experts in the area of communication, and you must learn that. Okay, so in this point, I would like to give you a few points that you have to take back for that matter. Okay, so number one, must make sure that you practice communication. All right, so how can you practice? Number two, this is where the interesting point comes in. You have to practice to speak in English. Okay, like what I'm doing now. All right, the reason why I want to speak English is not, that I'm proud of speaking it in English, but the fact of the matter is that I want to practice myself. Comes back to the first point. All right, I want to practice myself. I want to practice the to make myself comfortable in the language, to make sure that I can deliver. Of course, gradually you would improve from time to time. You have to start. Of course, you have to start at a what called amateur stage, right? So you're at beginner stage, and then later on you become a professional in your area by trying your best to communicate well, right? Okay, so that's why I think the fact of the notion is that you have to practice to speak in English. Okay, why I say English? A lot of people ask me, why not Malay? I mean, you have a mother tongue language. Yes, I am very proud of my mother tongue language, which is Malay. But then the fact, bahasa Melayu, for example, but the fact is that because English is somewhat of a different set of language, and some more, and furthermore, it is a language of international. Many people use English. Our references are in English, right? Our internet are in English. So why are we so skeptical about not learning English and not, accepting that English is the language, of mostly of the world? All right. Although Mandarin would be the utmost speak language of the world, but in the event of businesses, for example, all right, and this I would like to share with you. In my line of work, okay, I would say that 80% of the time, 80%, when I deal with my clients, okay, my good clients, we always speak in English. All right, it's not me who started it. Everyone seems to understand that. So what I'm saying to you youngsters out there is that English is the language of business, okay? And it's very important, because if you are lacking in terms of this language, you are most probably, getting yourself laid back compared to the other outperform students, or basically engineers in this case, which can speak good English, because companies need people to communicate with others, especially when it comes to ideas and sharing information, right? So if you can only speak one language in this case, compared to an international language and the most preferred language in the world that I mentioned to you, then you'll be putting yourself up a notch and selling yourself better compared to the other colleagues that perceiving the same position that you are in. Okay, so you have to understand that English is key. Okay, I always stress this point very, very, I would say, very, very stressfully in this case, because I do really want you guys to appreciate that English is important. All right, it's not for the fact that you want to show off of your skills and so forth. No, it is a must. It is a must, and you would thank me. I promise you, you would thank me, and later on when you enter the working life later, and you would thank me for that. I promise you. Okay, don't give up on that. So just practice your English communication skills. Okay, so what I did. Okay, let me just share with you an interesting story. What I did to be able to develop my communication skill in order for me to be, I mean, as I thought, to be a good leader, is to practice it with someone. Okay, language or communication is all about throwing your voice, throwing sounds. All right, it's not about texting the email and so forth. Okay, that is not practically leadership, in the beginning. Okay, it is a way that you communicate with other people that touches the heart of others. Okay, so in order for you to communicate well, you got to communicate by verbal. Okay, people have to hear your voice, people have to hear for what you have to say and the points that you have to make to them. All right, so in this case, when you speak good English, okay, it'll be helpful for that. So how do I do that? I practice it with my friends. All right. We selected Thursday as our English day. So everybody feels that, okay, English day is on Thursday, so I cannot skip that. Okay, I understand that, because if you make it as such that, okay, let's say, for example, if I talk to my friend, okay, let's say, John, okay, let's say we talk about, we talk to each other in English, for example, on every day. We might skip and then lose some days, right? So, but if we make it as one particular significant day, then most probably that you will not miss that. All right. So this is the tip that I want to tell you. Try to select a friends, good friends in this case. Okay, because this is where you know whether you have a good friend or not. Because if your friend is not part of what you want to do, which is something good for you and also him, in this, or him or her in this case, to create that good leadership skill, so you will not know, right? You will not know whether they are exactly your good friend or not, because they are not trying their best to help you out and also helping themselves out in this case. Okay, so try to select your good friends that have the same vision as you, to make sure that they can project this and they can help you out with speaking in English. Okay, so I've done that and I've experienced that, and that's why I'm telling you it's a good, it's a good damn recipe. I could tell you, just do it. Okay, just select a friend, tell them that you want to do this for the sake of, both of you, and try to do that on a day, on Thursday or whatever days that you select. Every day would be better, of course, but again, like I mentioned, if you select every day, then you would might miss some days that you would like to speak in English, in full English in this case. Okay, all right, so that's how I do it back in those days. And again, I did this back in UTM, guys. Okay, so UTM has been a sacred place for me. It has been developing my own personal sense of skills, in many, many ways. All right. So take that advantage and don't think, okay, don't think. A lot of times that students tell me that, okay, never mind, Mr. Ammar, I would like to, learn all this after university or after the learning process of in higher education in this case, right? Sorry. So I would tell them back, you are missing the time. That's the purpose of you being in a university. All right, come on, you have to understand right now. Okay, let me make it clear to you guys. Your purpose at the university right now is not just to learn the technicality of things, not to be, having the know-how of engineering only. You are actually developing yourself in terms of your, time management. You go to class, you go to classes on time, you go to, you have to submit your assignments on time. These are the skills that you are actually learning. All right, so come on, let's look very, more than what you are doing right now. Okay, so secondly, you are developing your communication skill, you are dealing with people, assignments, interactions, classroom, you ask questions and so forth. These are all the small events that develops you to be a good leader. All right, whether you know it or not. So I'm telling you, it definitely is. Okay, so that's why I would like to urge you guys to take this opportunity right here and right now. Okay, don't lose that time, because I can tell you, if you wait, if you have the kind of mentality to wait after your graduation, no, by the time it's too late, because you will be left behind compared to your other colleagues, which already have the kind of ideas to develop themselves right here and right now. Okay, so start early, take opportunity early. And a lot of times also, I tell the students out there, do not take opportunity, do not sorry, do not make it as an excuse. Okay, let's say, for example, if I tell you right now and you want to practice tomorrow, by the time you never, it's never gonna happen. All right, most of the times it happens to me, and I'm telling you guys that. All right, why I say that? Because once you leave it as a secondary method that's not that important, most probably that you don't do it anyhow. Okay, so I'm urging you guys, whatever information I'm telling you guys today, write it down, practice it right here and right now, to make sure that you can practice it straight away. Okay, just call your friends after this. Okay, I want to speak English with you. Okay, nothing else. Okay, so just try to do that. Okay, so that's number two for your English communication. Okay, and one of the examples that I want to put forth for me personally, I teach my kids English, or basically I nurture my kids to speak in English, right? When they were babies. And the reason why, because I understand the urgency and the importance of this language, okay, which they need to develop the confidence in speaking. Alhamdulillah, they did speak. I mean, although the grammar is not that correct sometimes, but at least they are very confident in using the words in English, and as well as to their friends. And although I had some difficulties when they entered school, they were talking like a foreigner, with their friends in Malay in this case. So that doesn't matter, because I do believe that once they are used to mingle with people in speaking in Malay at school. This is what I think, and my wife thinks, that they can culture the language with people outside in Malay, and for us, with their parents, they have to speak with us in English. Okay, so that's how serious I want to culture and cultivate my kids to speak in English. And that's why I'm stressing to you guys out there, if you guys if your parents are not doing it to you, then I'm trying to do this to you. Okay, right? So I'm trying to put this very important notion to you, so that you can put your standards, all right, plain English, to make sure that your English level will be up a notch, so that you could stand out among your colleagues, and hopefully for you to enter that job that you're always passionate about. Okay, all right. So next, when it comes to English, the third one, okay, sorry, the third one is body language. All right. Body language is important, okay, as how you perceive me right now. If I'm just putting my hands down and just looking at the screen right now, I will not say that you'll be intrigued or you will not be interested in my talk, unless if I put some notion and movement towards this video. All right, and that's a true fact, because psychology shows, or study shows, that once people see the interaction of movement, they'll be perceiving the information most likely to be in their heads, okay, rather than just to come in the right ear and going out the left. Okay, so this is where you need to understand body language is utmost important to support your communication skills. Okay, and you can see this at many occasions. Okay, have you ever wondered, have you ever thought, I mean, come across a situation that when people come into a room, for example, you don't know them, but when you see them, you can see the aura that they bring, the charismatic that they bring within the room. Have you experienced that? I did, and I believe that some of you have, and that is the kind of trait of a leader, because they do not need to show it, but actually, people perceive it as that. Okay, so that's how good leaders would show out, by their body, all right, by the use of their movement. So in this case, body language is really important. So how do you cultivate that? My tips for you is that you speak with other people. That's, I mean, the point number two that I mentioned to you just now. But the most important thing, because you don't have the pleasure to see everyone at all time, right? So you speak to yourself. Okay, I'm not saying for you to be crazy in this case, but this is the recipe that I had made during my lifetime in UTM. I had a big mirror. I'm proud, and I'm lucky to have that. Okay, in the door. So I speak to myself, okay, from time in time out, when I grew myself, when I work out and so forth. So I speak to myself in many topics of general topics, just to get my words out, to get my tongue loosen up, to make sure that I can be comfortable in speaking and also looking at myself. One thing you need to learn is that not everyone would accept the way that you interact. Okay, this is a true fact. So the point that when you see yourself in front of the mirror, then you would see whether you like it or not. All right. So to us, or maybe to me, let's say, for example, I like what I see. Okay, so that's how I want to deliver. But let's say, for example, if I started off early, back in those days, I see myself, I don't have that much of an expression. All right, so in this case, I try to put a lot of smile, a lot of action involved, so that people could be interactive enough to see me and be interested in my talk. All right, so you understand what I mean? So when you talk to yourself in front of the mirror, you're not crazy. Okay, you're not crazy. Let me make a point there. You are making yourself useful to make sure that you know how you deliver. All right, and how people perceive you to deliver. All right, so understand that. Okay, it makes sense, right? Okay, so number four, communication. You have to listen, guys. You have to listen to other people, because being a leader, all right, is having some sort of a title. All right, some sort of title. Let's say you're a project manager, you're a project engineer in this case, for example. You have a title in place, all right? You have a power in this case. And when you have power, most probably that you might misuse that by just giving orders, all right? That's not leaders, all right? I want to tell you now, good leaders are people who listens to others, all right? Or listen to others' opinions before they make that decision together, all right? So good leaders do that. And how I say that, we all know, like say for example, the most commonly recognized leader, in the world, all right? You can have many, but the most recognized leader in this case is, let's say everyone knows Nelson Mandela. I would like to put up an example of this. Nelson Mandela, when people ask him why was he a good leader, all right, and how can he nurture that, so he mentioned that his father was a tribal leader. Okay, his father was a tribal leader, and when it comes to meetings with other tribe members, his father would sit within a circle. All right, when they have the meetings, they would sit within a circle so that they could see everybody. All right, so that's number one. And number two, the father would always be the last one to speak. So how good is that? All right. So in this sense, when you have that position, when you have that power, when you have that, the means of making that decision, do not just make that decision. Try to get your team involved as well by listening to them, because you will not know, and it'll be a wonder. Let's say for me in this case, yes, I did face this kind of experience a lot when I have an idea on how to deliver, but I reserve that. I did not speak it out to my team. I reserve that, and I ask my team, what would they think? And I would say to you, I mean, wonders happen. Sometimes they are in line with my idea, and sometimes they create a better idea compared to mine. So in this case, you heard the jargon of two heads are better than one. It's very, very clear cut that it is true like that. Okay, so it is important for you to listen to other people in this case to be a good leader, and people will appreciate you. That you have to remember, a good leader is the one that manages people, right? When you manage people, when people want to listen to you, you have to listen to them back. So it works both ways in this case. So that's how you can nurture yourself to be a good leader. Okay, so coming to the fifth item here on communication is a non-verbal communication. All right. So again, some part of the body language, which I want to share you a story, a very important story. All right, which I really dear to heart that I want to share with you today. All right. So this story goes that I want to share about a few, all right, a few I would say good leaders that I have encountered in my life that I would say I would hope to be beneficial for you to understand the concept of this. So let's say, for example, in this case, I mean, coming back to UTM in this case, to someone that you can relate to. In this case, I've heard that UTM have the UTM endowment program. All right, I was partly involved in the making of that. Some videos and so forth, in helping out the scenery for that. Okay, which I'm very proud of. And the fact is that UTM endowment was established by Datuk Sri Zaini Ujang. All right, so and then I've heard, all right, I've heard from from people that when he started this endowment program that helps students, all right, to facilitate them, especially for the ones who face challenge or financial challenges while studying, all right, especially for the underprivileged ones, this fund would help them. All right, so it's a very good deed kind of way in helping students out. But the beautiful part of this story is that Datuk Sri Zaini started up this endowment program by putting up his money first. Okay, that's what I heard in back in those days. So I got intrigued. Me, as an entrepreneur, as someone who is very how to say curious about things, I had the pleasure of meeting Datuk Sri Zaini one day, and I asked him personally, Datuk Sri Zaini, why did you do that? I did tell him because the amount that he puts in was tremendously huge. Okay, tremendously huge. That I don't think I could do that. All right, but he puts in a lot of his money into that account to make sure that he can. He started it. He wants to show that he puts an example to everyone that he is the first to contribute to that. So I did ask him why, and his answer was very plain, simple. Which struck my heart. He mentioned that he has to start. He has to start. He has to show that example to everyone because he have started that program, right? So he could just have started the program and ask for funding from elsewhere, from corporates and so forth, but he did not do that. He put his money first, and this is where you can see a good leader shows example by an example. All right. So this is the kind of traits that you need to, digest and appreciate. All right. So the second, leader that I want to put forth here is Dato Wahid Omar. Okay. Dato Wahid Omar is a previous vice chancellor of UTM, which is Dato Sri Zainul was also the previous vice chancellor. So that was we had the pleasure. Me and my wife had the pleasure of meeting Dato Wahid at one particular tea event. All right. So we had tea together. And one thing that struck me very, very clearly at that particular time, which I talk to my wife, most of the time right now, is that when we had that session, all right, there were Dato Wahid was there, his PA was there, and the caterer was there, but he was the one who put in the tea in our cups. All right. So he basically holds the pot and put it in the cups. So again, like me, I mean, being me, I was curious enough. So I asked, I told Dato, you don't need to do this. All right. You are the vice chancellor. All right. I'm the guest here. I'm coming in, to UTM to talk to you. I mean, to have a chat. And then you are pouring my tea. All right. So he mentioned to me plain and simple. And as a good leader, he mentioned that, no, you are my guest today. All right. So again, leaders appreciate people beyond position. All right. So this is the kind of appreciation that I want to share with you guys. So the third story that I want to share with you guys today is a member, or basically a director of UEM Berhad. Okay, an ex-director exactly. So he is Dato Izzadin. And at one point, we had AMR was appointed as a vendor. We were selected as in the vendor development program to groom us to be a better company like UEM, of course, where we want to be. And during that event, we were with the prime minister and all. And I took some selfie with the prime minister, and then I wanted to take a selfie with Dato Izzadin, which is the director of UEM at the time. So he mentioned to me, okay, sorry, I have to escort the prime minister because the prime minister wants to go out now, wants to take leave from the event, and I will come to you back. Okay. So you imagine me as a small entity inside the big room where you got many players. There was Tan Sri, there was Dato, there was many, influential people inside that event. It was a 50th, ceremony of celebrating UEM in this case, right? The anniversary of UEM for 50 years. So we were, for me personally, I sat within that kind of notion that, okay, I'm going to say to myself, I mean, very frankly, that he's not going to come back. All right. So he went out to escort the prime minister, and I further on eating, having the dinner and so forth. So a few minutes later, he came back. He touches my shoulder and he said, okay, come, let's make that selfie. All right. So we take a selfie together. So in this case, I'm not saying about the selfie method that matters. It's all about the kind of notion that you treat other people as how they want to be treated. All right. What I'm saying is that Dato Izzadin could actually, not come back to me. I mean, he could just go around the room with all his influential friends and all these big shots, but he came to me first after he went back in the ceremony hall, and came to me and asked me for that request of what I want. Okay, so again, this kind of storyline is what I need you guys to appreciate of, that good leaders, show by example. All right. So talk about example regarding about myself, for example, in this case, when me personally, handling my kids in this case, uh, I want to share you a story about my kid, my first born Adam. And we name him Adam, by the way, because we want him to be a good leader. As Muslim knows that Adam is the first human being to live or ever created. So we want the word Adam to stick, with our son, to make sure that he understands that Adam is a good leader figure. All right. So that's how I want to perceive and portray my family to be. All right. So in this case, I always, me and my wife, when we go in the car, before we move, we always recite the prayer, all right, of making that mobilization happen. So every time, okay, I ask, okay, Adam, let's say our prayers. So Adam, at one point, he put up his hand like this, all right, as a Muslim would ever do. They would pray like this, right, or like this in this case. So there would be two hands, okay, two show of hands. But somehow or other, at that one point, all right, a few events actually, he put up one hand only. All right. So I was a bit curious. Me and my wife was a bit curious, but we keep it to a bay. From time to time, we did ask Adam, is two hands, okay, like this. But as time goes by, what I see is that when I ask Adam, okay, Adam, let's say our prayer, I was putting my one hand on the wheel and one hand like this. So what I'm saying to you guys is that my son Adam took the example of what I'm doing. Okay, so this is a non-verbal communication that people perceive you, like my son did. All right, so my son actually mimics what I do. All right, so being a leader, people mimic you. All right, people mimic the best, positive affirmation that you have, so that they can project within themselves as well. Okay, so I hope you understand this story well, so that you can have the notion that whatever you do, all right, whether people see it or not, whether you want people to see it or not, people would always copy whatever that you do if you are a good leader. Okay, all right. So I think that's a little bit about the talk that I'm going. Although I have a few points there, but my summary in this is that being a good leader is all about managing people. You have to be on ground to manage, unique kind of people. So you basically have to understand that if you can manage people, then you can be a good leader in this case. Okay, Dr. J, are we open for Q&A now?
Jay, you need to open your. You need you are. You need to unmute, Jay.
Oh wow, we have our dean together with us, Dato
All right.
Professor.
Okay, good to have you, Dato.
Alhamdulillah. Yes, yes. Let's not, time is
Yeah.
precious. So let's go for Q&A. We have lots of viewers waiting over there. So please chip in some questions. Let's see if we have any question. If our technical person can pop up some of the question on the screen so that we can, address to Mr. Ammar to share his opinion on. Well, while waiting for others, I do have some question maybe on behalf of my friends, Mr. Ammar. Yeah. So I have summarized pretty much of your talk actually. So I have this one question: how do you balance between work and life?
A very interesting subject, Doctor. All right. So my opinion might be somewhat of a different compared to others in this case. Okay, because I always perceive work and life is never going to be balanced. It's never going to be balanced. But the fact of the matter is that how you take time to make it as a quality time to balance it. Okay, so in this case, let's say for example, you are working 8 hours a day, right? And then let's say for example, you come home at 5 and you have a time of from 5. Let's say for example, you spend 1 hour on the road. Let's say so from 6 until 10, you got 4 hours there, right? So when you have that 4 hours as compared to the 8 hours, that itself is no longer balanced in this case on weekdays. All right. So what I'm saying to you is that if you could really help to really utilize these 4 hours well, you can really appreciate the balance that you need. Okay. So in this case, doctor, I would say that for what I did, all right, I would take the kind of precious time that I have with my kids at home and spend time with them. All right. And surely, I mean, if I could advise all of you guys out there, this would be a restriction when you have that. Okay. So do not have phones on the table when you eat. Okay. I always, make it as a example to my kids that when we eat together. And when we eat, there's no phones on the table. All right. So everybody understand that the most important thing is ourselves. So we communicate with each other, and that's the most important thing. So I think the juice here is that quality time is important rather than the balance itself.
Yeah, I think that's the appropriate word to use. Instead of using balance, is setting a priority.
Exactly. Yeah. But
right?
again, I mean, we have heard this kind of phrase time in and time out, right? So yes, but to me personally, I think quality is a key towards being balanced.
Okay, so we do have a question popping up on the screen by Munia Haryanti. Yeah, such a good talk, Engineer Ammar, and such a good sharing. So what inspired you to be an entrepreneur, starting your own business?
Okay,
Right?
a very good question, Murni. Okay, thank you so much for the question. I think most probably is that my biggest, I would say, influencer in my life would be my father, because he likes to think differently. He likes to take opportunities, and I think most probably, because of him, I wanted to venture into entrepreneurship. All right, because he always motivated me to do that. in that sense. And at that point, when I started my career, I was working with a company as a construction in the construction business. I was a site engineer, and during that time, I had the kind of pleasure to see an opportunity for me to be an entrepreneur in the construction industry. So what I did was I took some small jobs into delivering, construction business. Works, and soon after that, we started up our construction company in that sense. So yes, the push was basically from my father, and again, the motivation comes in from my wife, of course. So we again, my wife works with me hand in hand. We work together, and we speak the same language, at office and at home. So it becomes a pleasure for me to have that.
Okay, guys, we have lots of questions at the comment section. Yeah, go ahead there. We have now one from Nur Hafiza Ramli. Salam, you're talking about importance of body language. So that means with the online teaching and learning, TNL, is it good to have, say, synchronous class too with live video? Yeah, synchronous means live, having the live class with our students for teaching and learning.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think a very Okay, I think a very good question also, and Rafizat, thank you. When it comes to of course, body language, people perceive the information well, all right? But the fact of the matter is that if your connection or your connectivity is not there, that becomes a problem. So I think we are living in the era that, it's this COVID actually, for me, have taught us to make a change, all right? The new norm of things, right? In this case, is the teaching and learning by going online and live. But what I'm saying to you is that if the connectivity is not purely there, then your delivery cannot be appreciated by the students out there. So what I would say to you is that maybe the idea for us to develop the body language skill to our students is that we could actually try and ask the personal advisors. I think still call it PA, right, Dr. J?
yeah.
We still have personal advisors, right? Let's say, for example, for me, I had during my time. So we could actually ask these personal advisors, which governs a few students, and ask them and just to go with them, one-to-one maybe, or basically within a small group. It must be a small group, because if you make it big, you waste a lot of people's time. So you have a small group or one-to-one session. You have to practice. You have to ask them to present to you, and you give comments. And this is what I did for my interns and also my new team members, because although they know what they know, but the way that they express their information might not be that effective. Okay, so because at the end of the day, you want to be effective to make sure that the thing that you want would be achieved. All right, so in this case, you try, as a lecturer, if I could advise all of you, as a PA, you govern your students in nurturing their skills and giving them comments. Ask them to present within a few minutes, then you give comment. Let's say, oh, your words are too fast, your vocabs are, maybe you could enhance your vocabs and so forth. So these kind of thing people really appreciate, and people can really, really learn very, very quickly. So back to the question, I think live is good, but the connectivity can sometimes, be in the way. So I think one-to-one session or small group session would help into developing students in this case.
Okay, this is interesting. We have from Ahmad Humaizi. Salam, Engineer Ammar. What is the 3 most important skills that need by our graduate?
Okay, all right. So the most important skill that I highlight today is the utmost important skill, which is one, the communication skill. And I can say that, presumably this is the most key that you need to have, and we need to nurture our students and young generation out there, even our kids, all right? In this case, we have to nurture them to speak, all right? Because right now we live in an era of social media. Everybody speaks online. Nobody speaks verbally, right? So in this case, we have to ask them to speak to us. So nurture that by asking them to communicate. So number 1 is communication, and number 2 is the fact of vision, what they want to be. They have to have a passion. Okay, so they have to have passion. They have to know what they're going to be later on when they grow up. So they have to know exactly what they want to be in. Okay, so in order for them to have that, they have to create that communication skill. They have to have the skill of communicating with dealing with people. All right, communication is one thing, but people management is another, and the third thing is that to influence. All right, as an entrepreneur and also a company owner in this case, I always see that when you have a good communication skill and you can manage your people, all right, you can also influence people. So these are the 3 tips that I think each graduate should have. Because let's say, for example, the third item in terms of influencing people, I would always urge them to sell. Okay, in many of my talks, I would tell them you have to start selling something, regardless it's from online. You become a dropship. You have to have that experience, because once you want to start selling, you have to communicate with others, and that's how you develop your communication skill in one go. So it's two birds in one stone again. So you would have the opportunity to develop this whole set of skills. All right, because at the end of the day, people, or basically companies who hires, they look at you. All right, although you have the scroll, okay, although you have the transcript of your studies, like for me, my example, my employer at the time look at it for 5 minutes. 5 minutes, 5 years comes down to 5 minutes of review of that. So how, I don't think that's balanced enough. All right. But anyhow, what I'm saying to you is that if we could have the selling skill, you can develop the communication skill, and you can develop the influential skill for them to cater other people, because life is all about managing people, managing problems. And this is the sort of skills that we should have for our kids and also for the youngsters out there.
Okay, we have one special question over here from Sabaria Baharun. What would you say about the integrity of a leader? Yeah,
All
please.
right. So for everyone out there, Sabaria Baharun, Dr. Sabaria Baharun is my mom. All right. So thank you, mom, for your support. Okay. Again, my mom has been inspiration for me, because she's, time in and time out working with the NGOs, settling for women's rights and so forth. So, I really do learn a lot from my mom. So in this case, when my mom asks about integrity, I would always, share with you all here today that it is the utmost important thing, because like this, you being as a leader, all right, you are creating a brand to yourself. Okay, so let's say, for example, if people know me as Ammar, right, people want to be associated with what I can do and I can deliver, and some good traits that associated with me, right? And in this case, if people know that I have that kind of integrity, then people know that I mean, truthful to my words, and I can keep up on my words, like that. So in this case, let's say, for example, we take our prophet, our beloved prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, for example. He's considered as Al-Amin, the trustworthy, right? So if I want to associate myself with having the trustworthiness, which in turn having the integrity, then that alone created a brand for me. So people can trust me. People, if they want a service that I can deliver, they know that they can trust. Okay, so it is important for a leader to have integrity. And the moment that you screw up integrity in many ways, let's say, for example, you cheat other people, you don't stay true to your words, what happens is that people would talk, the market would talk, your friends would talk, and you would be surprised that the Chinese whisper somehow or rather ends back to you. So you don't want to create or diminish, or basically to put a negative perception towards you as a brand. Okay, so this is important. Integrity is important. Okay, Mama. So I love you, Mama. Thank you.
Okay, guys, do we still have any more other question? Leadership for Gen Z. Wow. Okay. Yeah. What's your
Okay,
opinion?
so yeah, I think leadership is it doesn't care of age, doesn't care of generations. It is a skill set that everyone needs to have. Okay, regardless. But then again, that, like I mentioned to you earlier, Doctor, the challenge is that how are we to nurture our youngsters right now when they are open to the era of social media, where we communicate best, within the live stream or basically online. So this is where we need to get ourselves balanced by telling our children, our youngsters out there, and young generations out there, that you have to nurture that communication skill, to work with people, to basically communicate face to face with people. That is the skill set that they need to develop. Yes.
Okay. Let's go for the another question from Atika Rahim. How should we do if the leader doesn't show us the good example and always said we are wrong? Okay, blaming, right? The game of blaming. Should we just keep silent then?
Okay, so a very interesting question, Atika. Thank you for that. So Atika is asking then, if you did your best, and then your leader is not saying like that, or basically not appreciating you, then I would say like this. Just to come to your point first, good leaders always praise other people. All right, this is the utmost key. Everybody should understand this. They nurture people by showing example. They nurture people by doing it themselves, by telling them what to do. Like I mentioned earlier, we have a ship, we have to navigate, we have to tell other people where we're going. This is our vision, right? So this is where we want to go. When it comes to your case, Atika, in this case, when you have a leader or basically your superiors that are not that is not showing good example to you, and you are asking me, should we keep silent? My question back to you, whether it would impact your position there or not. Okay, so most of the time, if let's say for example it impacts your position, in the company or wherever that you are, then you have to find ways to make sure that you show your superiors on how to best manage it through your example, for example. All right, so I think in this case, there are some threshold for that. If you cannot stand it, then I would say that you have to work with another leader and try to find some other uh, career somewhere else. All right, so again, this is common. People would face this. I would not say that you need to put up with it, but if you have the problem right now, then I would say that you try your best to not to say keep silent. If you keep silent, then that person might just do that consistently to you. But what I'm saying is that try to open up questions, in making sure that your superior understand your point, into knowing that he has to change his ways in doing things. All right.
I'm not going to avoid this. This is the young generation. There you go. You want to say hi to everyone? I think she
Hi.
wants to say hi.
Hi.
Yeah.
This is a
Okay,
good
so
example. This is a good example where you want to, get your son involved, your family involved. Good. That's good. Okay. So
okay, I think we have this as the last question due to time constraint. It's from Christina.
okay. So when did I start communicating in English? Okay. To be frank with you, I mean, at home, me and my parents, we start to, speak Rojak, we speak Malay and English at the same time. And, right now I'm comfortable in speaking English with my father, especially when it comes to, talking about work with him. And how did I start? Basically is at home at first, and that's how I copycat the fact that I want to do it also for my small family, and that's how my children are speaking. Their first language at home is English, and the point of being that I think that the threshold that I start to speak, I would say better English, is that because I was lucky to be schooled in the UK, the United Kingdom, back in 1991 at the time. So I was at school. I just want to share with you, Doctor, my experience at that time. I went to a school with all these Englishmen, all right, in the United Kingdom, and then I had no vocabs except for yes and no, all right, and then I only take about 3 months, okay, and this is basically typically the kind of average change that you can make if you learn any kind of language. So 3 months is what you need to be able to speak back the language. Although it's not good in vocabs, but at least the person that you are interacting with would understand what you are saying. So what I'm saying to you is that you could always start early, and I always urge everyone out there, start early and start now. Start communicating with your family. All right, I would say to you right now today, that English would be able to make you, your kids, your family, the people around you be confident in speaking the language, and also to reach much more of a success, because references, potential, you don't want to be in the local market, also you want to be in the international market. So English would be the medium for you to do that.
Okay, I think that's very beautiful, especially the last one when you emphasize about English, because my mother tongue at home is Mandarin. So,
Dr. J,
what happened?
you can speak many languages, right? You are a special one, okay?
No, I really can't avoid that Rojak thing you mentioned just now. Now my kids are really become Rojak, especially when they speak. They have 3 languages in one sentence. They can actually do that. Such as like Papa, 我要吃 ice cream, boleh? So there's 3 language. I need to find him there. I'm going to learn from you. Anyway, Alhamdulillah. Mr. Ammar, we have come to the end of our session, so it's really been an honor to have you. This is the testimony.
The pleasure is mine. That's the future leader there. That's a future leader then.
I mean, yeah.
I mean,
So yeah,
okay.
you as being among the accomplished individuals and figures, and to be able to spend your time and sharing for today's forum, leaders of enterprise. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big round virtual applause to Mr. Ammar. Yeah.
Thank you
Okay,
so much.
guys. So, Mr. Ammar,
Thank you so
once
much.
again, thank you for
Okay,
your
thank you so much.
contribution. We are
All right,
looking forward
anytime,
to have.
anytime, doctor. All right. Thank you.
Yes, we have Dr. Rafiq. Yeah, for the closing remark. If you want to give a closing remark. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Jaisuman, for chairing the session, and to our distinguished speaker today, Engineer Ammar. We are
Yeah.
very we have our own alumnus in our program, and it was a great sharing session. We have more than 300 unique viewers listening to your sharing session. So
The
thank
more
you
the
for
merrier.
yeah, we have many more questions actually, but unfortunately, we cannot entertain all of them. Inshallah, we will have another session with Ammar maybe next year. So thank you, Ammar, for the
Okay.
session. Thank you,
Thank
Jais,
you.
for moderating the session, and to all of our viewers out there. Thank you for watching UTM Engineering Leaders of Enterprise. Do stay tuned because we have many more interesting sessions for you. Until next time, bye-bye for now. Bye-bye.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi